Welcome everyone to our session. My name is Michael Buse. I'm a product manager for Cloud ALM for implementation. And with me I have my colleague Daniel Berner. And the two of us, we will present to you today optimizing business processes, a deep dive into fit to standard workshops in SAP Cloud ALM. This is our standard legal disclaimer. For any forward-looking statements we may give that SAP always keeps the right to make changes to this in the future. Let's have a look at the agenda. I will start from process documentation to fit to standard workshops. So what is possible in Cloud ALM today? And then Daniel will take over and present to you the future of process management in SAP Cloud ALM. For Q&A, we will be after the presentation here in front of the room, and please come to us and ask any questions. But let's start with from process documentation to fit to standard workshops, or what we have in Cloud ALM process management available today. So when you start in process management in Cloud ALM for implementation, you start by building up your process documentation. This means the creation of all your reusable project-independent elements. You first import process content like solution processes, diagrams, solution activities or process steps, the process hierarchy or library elements into Cloud ALM. And for that, you're using the selective data transfer if you have your process data in Solution Manager, or you can use our standard integration with SAP Signavio to bring diagrams into Cloud ALM, or you can use our APIs and the Excel uploads for process management. But you can also create directly from scratch all these different entities, or you can use the SAP best practices and adapt the SAP best practices to your needs. The second thing what you're doing then is to build up all the relations. So relations, for example, for your implementation documentation and for example, to your test cases. So all these different entities can be connected to each other. And then you bring it into a structure, into the process hierarchy. There you structure all your reusable elements. And you are finished, when all your reusable elements, your project-independent entities are ready. And then as a next step, you start your implementation project. So you create the project, and there then you can conduct the fit to standard workshop. You start by importing the digital discovery assessment results, the DDA results for S/4HANA Public Cloud and S/4HANA Private Cloud into the tool, but this will also be extended for other line of businesses in the future. As a next thing, then you go into scoping. So you create your project scopes by branch, by line of business, by department. So Cloud ALM is really flexible here. And then we come to the specific solution process scoping, like standard process content from the SAP best practices or the custom process content, which we have created in the beginning in the process documentation. And then we capture the requirements directly in the tool on the level of the solution process flow diagram, the diagram level, and also the solution activities on the process step level. Then we can refine these requirements, we can approve the requirements in the tool, and assign follow-up activities as user stories to a configuration expert, for example, if there needs to be a specific configuration done. So what we have missing today is the process lifecycle, but that's why we are here today. But let me first finish what we have in the tool today available, and then Daniel will show you the future. So for process management in Cloud ALM, we have at the moment 6 different apps available. We have 3 apps for the process documentation, the project-independent apps, and 3 apps for the fit to standard workshops, the project-dependent apps. Let's start with the project independent apps for the process documentation. Here we have the process hierarchy app to structure all your different entities in the project independent process hierarchy. As some release highlights, we have released this year the selective data transfer. So if you're a solution manager customer, you now can move your process hierarchy into Cloud ALM by using the selective data transfer. But we are also offering now a specific API for the process hierarchy. The second app is the libraries app to manage your technical library elements like applications, which are the executables, which you know from Solution Manager, configuration elements, development elements, and also the interface elements. And also here, the selective data transfer is already available. So you can move now your library elements from Solution Manager into Cloud ALM. And also all the libraries you know from the Solution Manager are now available in Cloud ALM and can be used. Last but not least, the process offering app for the management of your custom solution processes and also your solution activities. So the solution activities library is in the process offering app. Also here, we support fully the selective data transfer and also fully already the solution activities library, also that you can create all the different relations to your executables or applications, to documents, and so on. And for the Signavio integration, what's new since last week is that you can now use the standard integration of SAP Signavio and Cloud ALM by integrating Signavio with the Cloud ALM tenant extension. Coming to the Managed Scopes app, or the 3 apps for the Fit to Standard workshop, the project-dependent entities. And here we have as a first app the Managed Scopes app to define your project scopes. And here as a release highlight for 2025, we have the DDA for the S/4HANA private cloud now also available. And we have a lot of new solution scenarios, but also all the relevant S4 scenarios and so on are all also updated. Coming to the Processes app, where you conduct the Fit to Standard workshop, and there you scope your specific solution processes from standard, but also custom processes from the process documentation. Here we have now available a new localization concept on the diagram level and also test cases directly on the diagram level available. Looking at the Requirements app, where we have the requirements refinement, approval, and creation of follow-up activities, you now can assign several solution processes to one requirement. We had there in the past only a one-to-one connection possible. And we have also a new structured approval workflow for you to be used. Today, one key element in the process management is the solution process. And this consists of a value flow, a high-level business perspective of this process, the solution process flow, the collection of, which can be a collection of diagrams, and the solution process flow diagrams, so the specific BPMN diagrams which you need for your Fit to Standard workshop. And then underneath we have the solution activity, which is the process step. And the structure we have from the SAP Enterprise Architecture methodology, and also all the SAP best practices are created by following this structure. And we understand that for the documentation purposes, it's a good structure, but for a working environment, it's sometimes hard to use. So, but that's what we have today. So here also, let's hope for a better future. And here I'm looking also in the direction of Daniel. What's possible, I already mentioned it since last week, is the standard integration of Signavio with the Cloud ALM tenant extension. And it's pretty easy to set up. You just go to your SAP for me and trigger the provisioning of the connectivity add-on for Signavio. Please do not select your Cloud ALM tenant there, but you need to go in a second step to your BTP global account of your Cloud ALM tenant, and there then you can create the formation between the connectivity add-on and your Cloud ALM tenant extension. All details in the blog post here on the slide. So for the demo, I want to quickly show you the localization on the diagram level, the test cases on diagram level, and also the applications on the solution activity. So first we go to the Processes app. And here is an example here for the demo. I selected a J58 process. And if we now go to the diagram level, so this is the diagram level. Now on the left-hand side, we have this new filter where you now can filter for countries. And for my example, I took Brazil. And now if we go to the drop-down, we can see all the different processes which are relevant, or diagrams which are relevant for Brazil. And this one is specifically for Brazil because it's the year-end closing for Brazil. So this is only now relevant for Brazil. So as the second example then is the test case on the diagram level. So we go back to the diagram on a custom solution process which I have scoped here, and I have created already the test case out of it and have connected it here. And if we go here to the structure, so these are all the process steps which came from the specific diagram, and now we can also attach the test case for this diagram to this specific diagram. The last part of the demo is in the solution activities library, where we have created a custom solution activity. And this custom solution activity is also already scoped in a project. And now I have added a second application to this solution activity, the send sales information. And if we now save it, it should also be visible directly in the project, because there this solution activity is also used. So I've saved it. It's now part of the solution activity. And if we go back to the Processes app to this diagram where I've reused this specific solution activity, we now can see the two applications which are assigned. And with that, over to you, Daniel.
So then let me continue with what's ahead of us. And if you visited the lifecycle session yesterday, you got already a glimpse. But the topics that will keep us busy for 2026 and beyond in the area of processes are basically three main topics. So of course, the topic of lifecycle management will be a key one to bring to process management, to enable process management, to model a lifecycle, and to be ready for the future in this regard. Second topic you heard already is the topic of integration. Coming to that in a minute. And last but not least, thank you very much for all your influence requests. So we all read them, evaluate them, and not only in the area of improvements, consider them, and as far as possible, try to bring them in the roadmap as well. So starting with the topic of lifecycle, I think most of you have seen this slide already with the project scope, the program on top of that, what we plan in addition, the central scope, and the new approach that comes with that. So having DDA entering centrally, having best practice libraries centrally on hand, having Signavio entering centrally, so having one approach for receiving data, one approach for centrally storing, visualizing, lifecycle managementing, if you can say it like that, data, and from there on scoping into projects, editing, and so on in projects, and feeding back to the central scope. That, of course, comes with a way of working. You have seen yesterday that we want to establish in the solution. So with steps that will be new in this regards, like the initialization you have seen yesterday, like the new way of scoping and planning, changes to like how you do design, how you do fit to standard workshops, changes to like how you do implementation, then feeding back, going live either with a big bang or in an agile approach, feeding back to like your central documentation, and from there on be ready to run the cycle again. So one key principle that's behind that is we rethink as well the structure of like what, so to say, the process architecture in Cloud ALM today provides with the solution process flow diagrams on the very top and all the elements in between. We, let's say, have a mindset of wanting to bring more flexibility. Some of the things are already live, that you have like a country on the diagram level. Currently, it's implementation that you are able to scope on the country level, and we even think further. So with the lifecycle management and the changes we are going to do in this regards, the diagram will become a more of a central object, meaning the solution process flow diagram will be the document to be lifecycled, to document your implementation, and to hold further attributes. So on the one side, the already available country definition that just got released. Furthermore, what you have seen in yesterday's session, like the topic of versioning, the topic of the single stages, design, implementation, production, and then as well further dimensions of like, where do I implement? So we want to give it a dimension of what we currently call implementation location, that you are able to differ between diagrams that you set to productive state for a template project that you already implemented in a pilot country, or that you even now further rolled out. In addition, we want to make the diagram, the whole solution process environment, landscape aware. So meaning you are able to link the solution process flow diagrams to your landscape to clearly document which processes are running where and which might be duplicates because you have like two separate S4 public cloud solutions, for example, up and running. And last but not least, we think of additional governance and approval steps. So providing, for example, ownership to the diagram, establishing a new role of a diagram owner. What you see around is basically then the structural elements like the solution process, but as well the hierarchy, and you've seen yesterday the packages that come to the play in addition, which will come new to the play or will be enhanced, like for example, where you see here, being able to link the diagram directly on, directly link the diagram to the hierarchy. Next important step, or which will be a big change, is in the area of design. And that will be like utilizing the two microservices you have today with the authoring, with the process management, bringing them together into the activity of like the people who are doing fit to standard workshops. So having all these activities in one go, being able to review, being able to apply changes to your processes, being able to create new processes, remove them, or even trigger an approval, and from there on continue the life cycle. With that, now what's ahead of us? And let's take a look at basically the work list that is ahead and that will define our roadmap in this area. Of course, we have to establish the central scope as such, with like the project independent scoping, with the independent process views, with the new element of packages that we foresee. Then we have further the project scoping. So the project scoping will for sure change. It'll have the project, the central scope as a one source for the project scope, and it will have new authorizations in regards of having the scoping and having the editing of processes in one hand. Next thing, what you have seen is a diagram. Establishing the diagram as an object, enriching it with additional attributes, making it more flexible, making it more reusable in your overall process landscape. And then, of course, we have to look end-to-end in our role and authorizations. So with changes like the central scope, a new environment with changes to like the capabilities you are able to do in the area of projects, and with changes to like the project scoping, so to the project, of course, there comes the question, what are the new roles that we want to establish? What are the new personas we look at? So that will for sure bring changes there as well. Like, for example, an owner of the diagram. And last but not least, we have the topic of versioning and the topic of staging, what you have seen yesterday. So that will be basically then what, when we achieved like bullets 1 to 4, we add to the diagram to be able to provide an overall lifecycle management. With that, coming to the next topic, coming to the topic of integration. And there we have again 3 topics we're going to focus on. Topic 1, you heard it already a couple of times, is the topic of integration with Signavio. So as Michael already pointed out, we continuously work on the topic. We already have the renaming of solution activities now that's possible from Signavio accomplished. We currently work on an approach for migrating from Solution Manager Signavio environment to a calm Signavio environment. And then there come more functional topics like, for example, the requirement integration. So being able, triggering requirement integration from Signavio, feeding back to Signavio and visualizing that. The hierarchy integration, so the folder structure of Signavio. And last but not least, integration of further attributes. So like, for example, process ownership, something like that we're going to look at. Next topic, DDA integration. Of course, with the central scope, we change the integration to the DDA, bring it to a central place, and with an MVP here, we're already looking then towards 2027 to have a more sophisticated integration than our Excel approach today. And last but not least, you have seen today in the keynote an MVP of the integration with business process monitoring in the operations area. So that will as well, of course, be a topic we continue to drive, thinking of next levels of integration there and broadening the topic. And then, last but not least, looking at the topic of improvement. And that covers, of course, multiple things, small things that we got from your influence requests, things that are identified by UX designers, and things that we completely, let's say, globally roll out within Calm. Let me just give you some examples. Process hierarchy history is one of the topics that's currently in implementation, will come Q4 most likely. So here you see a sneak peek of the current mockups, and that we're going to roll out. So the approach is to start with the process hierarchy, but of course scoping will be a focus topic, changing of diagrams will be a focus topic, and so on. So basically providing a solid foundation of history tracking through all our elements. Next topic, two-step deletion. So we got the feedback that accidentally deletion can of course happen, and that this need to be prevented. So we have an approach within Calm of providing a recycle bin, two-step approach, that you first put your items to a deleted page and second delete from there. So that is what we now first roll out for the process hierarchy as well, and from there continue to roll it out through other further objects. You know already in the area of the authoring, we have a first approach with the archiving and deletion. And then last but not least, improvement in general of the look and feel, the handling, the UI of how we do basically process management, fit to standard workshops and what we offer. And in this chart, you see multiple of the ideas that currently we look at from the life cycle, central scope, new structure perspective. So for example, thinking of having 3 different views depending on whether you structure via hierarchy, whether you structure via solution processes, having the diagram and the life cycle management integrated, but as well considering further topics, for example, like requirements overview. We got the feedback, and I fully agree, as having worked in this environment, so that the requirement overview and when you linked requirements to solution activities is not the best, so that we take into account as well in this regard. And all these are topics we currently detail out. First, we bring on the roadmap pretty soon, like for example, in first MVP for the requirements overview. Some of these you see will of course take some longer time, needing to have the lifecycle concept, what you have seen in place. And with that, let me close with giving you an overview again, like what's ahead. So of course, the key topic of the central scoping, the key topic of the lifecycle management, and all the topics around that will be one strong topic that we focus on in 2026 and beyond. Then, of course, the integration. So the integration with Signavio as the major topic in this regard. And last but not least, of course, we don't want to wait till we have all the lifecycle accomplished, till we put in further improvements, make your life easier, make it more comfortable to use calm process management. So the topic of improvement, and with the topics along here, is the last but not least one on the list. And with that, I want to say thank you very much, and for any questions, we are still in the room. Feel free to reach out to us. Thank you very much.